Martin Truex Jr. wins at New Hampshire, rain delayed race. You were there. Now you're back home because of it happening on Monday afternoon. I was stunned by this, DJ. This is Martin Truex Jr.'s first win at New Hampshire in the Cup Series in 30 starts. He had 3 third-place finishes at New Hampshire prior to this. He had 2 poles, but he's number 3 on all-time laps led at this track. He has 1,170 laps led now, but finally has a win. He trails only Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart. He passed Kyle Busch today. So let's start there. I mean, were you as surprised as I was that this is Martin Truex Jr.'s first Cup win at New Hampshire?
Yeah, as I started getting prepared leading up to the week, I knew that that last year that they kind of gave a race away in a year that they couldn't afford to be giving races away because they weren't competitive all the time. But as I started reading, I just had assumed, because he's always run so good there, that at some point in time he had a win. And you look at all the laps led and how competitive he is, and always has been there, it seems. And for this to now be the first time to get that out of the way, he talks about growing up there. You could tell the pressure was kind of getting to him a little bit. It certainly was mounting, because you want to do well at a place that's really special to you in a lot of ways. And but that today, aside from Jeff Burton dominating and leading every single lap back when we were racing, that was the most impressive one that I've seen to date. Besides that, and again, he just does it race after race, and didn't matter the circumstances. They made the right calls, did the right things.
Yeah, and like you said, he did give one away last year. He and crew chief James Small, I think, came away from that race at New Hampshire in 2022 very upset, and that was kind of the theme of last year, DJ. I want to get to that this year it seems like Martin Truex Jr. and James Small just flipped that switch and are championship contenders again. They might be favorites, but I want to touch on what you just said there, and Truex mentioned this in his post-race interview with Marty Snyder. He talked about those memories of going to New Hampshire as a child. Ryan Truex actually just tweeted this photo of Martin Truex Jr., Ryan Truex, and their mother sitting in turn 1 at New Hampshire, probably, I don't know, late 80s, I guess, early 90s, not really sure, but a while ago. What's that like for a driver? Because I'm sure you can kind of relate to that. For Martin Truex Jr. to go to this track where he's got all these memories from his childhood of going there and watching his dad race and, watching Dale Earnhardt work on cars in the garage. He talked about that this week. To go there and kind of fulfill that childhood dream of winning at a racetrack that you grew up watching. You grew up at racetracks all around the country, but do you have anything similar to that, DJ? I mean, winning the Coke 600, Charlotte, is there anything like that you can kind of relate to Martin Truex Jr. finally winning at New Hampshire?
Yeah, there's no doubt as someone that grows up around the sport, just like Martin did. I mean, that his dad had a regular job, but he raced a lot, and so Martin had that opportunity to go be a part of it when they were traveling around to the races. And there are places that become special to you, and things that you remember through that stick with you, and so that becomes another box for you to check. Once you're able to check off the box to where you get to the highest level and in the Cup Series, and then you have that box of trying to win, and he's got that checked off a long time ago, and then he won his championship in the Cup Series too. So he's checked off a lot of boxes for a career, but there's one that has stuck with him. He talks about winning at Dover because that's actually, I think, a little closer to where he actually grew up as a kid. But this is a place that every interview I think that he talked about this week, it had something to mention about going there and watching his dad race, and then just how special it was to go into the garage area and there Dale Earnhardt was adjusting the carburetor, I think he said, Dale was working on his Busch car at the time. And so these are just things that you remember, so that it becomes a place, and especially when you've run as well for so long as Martin has at this track, not to get that win in the Cup Series, it becomes a little bit on the frustrating side. And mine was actually just trying to win a race at Hickory in the Busch Series, because it seemed like every time I got close, there was somebody that was always a little bit better, whether it was Jack Ingram, who was, a little bit better a lot of the time than I was anywhere, but especially at Hickory. And then I remember getting beat by Ronnie Silver from up in the Asheville area. Might have been his only win in the Busch Series, but it becomes very frustrating, and I can take it to the level of the Cup Series. Yeah, Charlotte would be that, and to be able to go there and win the Coca-Cola 600 that I watched my dad race at, and I'll take it that even though Daytona wasn't a home track by any means, it is a track that every driver wants to win at, and remembering and being there in 1963 when my dad led the race with 2 laps to go, the Daytona 500, and then ran out of gas. For me to be able to come back then, literally 30 years later, and go to victory lane meant a lot to me. It was kind of like saying, okay, the Jarretts together have a Daytona 500 win. So I know that Martin's relieved, and again, just dominating, and that's the way that you want to do it. I'm sure that he would have taken it if you told him he could only lead 1 lap and it was the last one. He'd been fine with that too.
Hi, I'm Parker Kligerman. For more access like this from Pit Road, be sure to click and subscribe to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube channel.